What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Catch the Train on Oblivion Express. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Oblivion Express is the map where we have to destroy trains. They come in from the west, mainly along 2 tracks, and we have to destroy 9 of them to win the game.
Yes.
If we miss more than 1 train on brutal difficulty, we lose the game. Our vision is really tiny, and only at the center of our screen, or on buildings. And enemies are really fast.
That's pretty much it, actually. So, Tutu and Stixbender are on the call with us today. How are you guys?
Alright.
Alright.
Doing good.
Doing well.
Everything's working now.
Everything's working. First try. So, Tutu, how are we going to rank the commanders this week?
This mutation is not that difficult.
If you're Arcturus.
Basically like Oblivion Express, but annoying.
Yes.
Terran makes things a lot more annoying though. So there's like a small bonus for commanders who have high mobility, so that they can like be in position for the waves and be in position to catch ghosts.
Oh yes, that's true. The spooky boys are very annoying. How about you, Stixbender?
Also, generally, good points for commanders who, instead of having armies that just attack, move, and punch everything, which means that they need to actually have vision of those things, which means they have to be looking at them. Spells that you can just fire into the darkness and hear the sounds of a whole lot of death animations playing.
All right, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
Abathur, if you don't do Toxic Nest luring, then you're gonna have to wait till like the first wave. I mean, if you don't lure, you'll get a Brutalist before the first train goes away. So you still can do stuff. You can still like use spine crawlers for damage if you don't have a Brutalist yet. Late game, he has Swarm Hosts, and you don't probably want to use Swarm Hosts, but he has Mutalisks and Vipers. That's the one.
Right.
So it's all right. It's decent. Deep Tunnel is good for catching ghosts as long as you have spores, which you should, because you'll have lots of minerals. So I think I just put him in B.
How about you, Stixbender?
I would note that if you are bad at farming out ultimate evolutions and then microing them, there's also no reason that P1 Roach Muta shouldn't work here. So that can make your early game easier. Because then you are just making a bunch of spine crawlers and then going into mutas, and that makes your early game a lot easier. And that's about all I have to say for that. B tier seems fine. He's not got anything that makes him stand out as good. He's just, raw strength of Abathur is about the biggest thing that stands out for him.
I agree. Alarak, where do we have him?
Remember what I said about being able to throw spells into the void and just hear a bunch of death animations playing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You can just yeet Psy Orbs into the void and listen to Amon's army get vaporized. You do not need to see for the Psy Orbs to deal damage. You do not need to see for Alarak's Destructive Wave to deal damage. So if you have Empower Me, that also will vaporize entire armies. Your army is kind of valuable, so don't let it get caught when you're not looking, because you will need to cast spells manually. But if you're using Ascendants, that's no different from normal. It's not like they can basic attack anything to death. So basically normal play if you play Ascendants. If you play Wrathwalkers, not so normal play, because the reason you usually play Wrathwalkers is so that you can not have to stare at things. I'd say he could be A.
Do you agree, Tutu?
Structure Overcharge kind of sucks a little more, because you have to see, like you have to look at stuff.
Yes.
Because normally you would like turn on Structure Overcharge, but like if you can't see the enemy, then it's not going to shoot anything.
Oh yes.
And with Shortsighted, you're going to see a lot less.
Yes.
So it's going to suck.
It will suck.
But yeah, if you can keep your Ascendants alive, then you'll be fine.
This mutation in general
A
sucks.
is alright.
Alright, no disagreements from me. Also had him in A. Arcturus, S tier. Let's move on. Where do we have him?
So for those who don't know, if you make your main like command center hatchery or nexus, you get like vision around it.
Yes.
And he, like a Zerg commander, builds extras of these normally anyways. So having them at like the ramps would be very helpful for providing vision against any
Spooky
enemies that
boys.
come that way.
Yeah.
And this is Oblivion Express, so he will ESO everything to death.
Also, Earth Splitters
yeah.
give a tiny vision radius, so
Yes.
that even helps out your
that
ally.
too. Yeah. So S.
Easy S. How about you, Sixbender?
Yes. Also, like, remember that, like, to actually actively note, ESOs give vision. You just can use mass ESO and it will literally just work.
Sounds about right. Dehaka, where do we have him?
I forgot if pack leaders turned on the lights before, but I don't recall them doing that here. I don't know if that has been fixed or changed or something.
Actually,
The one on Crate of Death, like the lights were turned on when they were active, but I don't recall them doing that this time. But anyways,
yeah.
P2 is the pack leaders are super tanky, and you just have Mutalisks. Plus, you have Impalers along the edges to deal extra train damage. And I think it's pretty straightforward, so A.
All right. How about you, Sixbender?
Yeah, at least that I can agree with.
All right. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Using Keldalis against Afraid of the Dark is really awkward, but works.
You know, I can also use other champions, but your point stands.
Yeah, other champions do a lot worse. Let's be real. But you can basically, I think P2, because remember your base is just right there. I think P2 should do pretty well. Question mark? I would think so, at least. Champions good. And cheap, and we don't have to worry too much about them dying, and your shell farm is safe because it's in your main base, but it's also close. Angie, Zealot, flails, arms at train dies. And A.
How about you, Tutu?
Same thing.
Nice.
If the enemy is ground, you will walk through this, you'll walk like over this mutation so badly. You can even get both bonus trains because you have an Arbiter suit to get back in position for the next wave. If the enemy has like air, then you just make more mojos, just like a lot of them, and then throw them in. Like they're like mojos are basically scourge. But yeah, A I think is right.
All right. Without prestige, still A.
Then you just mass carriers. So I think same thing.
Right. I think also mass carriers, if you go the first prestige might be better at deleting waves because they all come from the same choke points. But yeah, I think second prestige still the way to go. Haunted Horner, where do we have him?
Really depends on your top bar usage. I think I used P1 Reapers and just like jumping around the cliffs, and it was really effective because there's a lot of they're really fast.
Yes.
And as long as you like strike fighter down whatever big units are threatening, like siege tanks or Thors or whatever.
Reavers, Disruptors.
Like Reaver Disruptor or like any High Templar. But AoE kind of hurts. I think the fire gives you vision for a little bit, so that helps
that's what
too.
I was thinking.
Calm the Fleet sucks a little bit more. Well, it's actually not terrible because when you use it, you just have to look, and then it'll just, if you're hitting the train, it'll just keep hitting the train.
Yes.
You probably want to call in the direction that the train is moving, not away.
Yes.
The same direction. So you like basically call it backwards.
Yeah.
And then like, since you're going to be looking at that area, like if they hit nothing, at least they'll hit the train, and doing extra train damage is nice.
Always helpful.
With that said, if you're not so good, I think you're gonna lose a lot of stuff. And if you don't get to critical mass, you're gonna suffer. And it's kind of enemy comp dependent, because if the enemy has a lot of air, you're gonna suffer. So I put them in C.
How about you, Sixbender?
I would say their army is very fragile. They have a decent top bar, but for the most part, they have to look at things to shoot them. They don't even have a great remax speed. If their fragile army dies, they are limited in the number of production buildings they're even allowed to have. Plus, those production buildings can get sniped from behind by things that you have to go and manually look at. It's a real big pain.
Wouldn't the Robins give you like the minimap dots?
Yeah, that gives you the minimap dots. That doesn't mean your things can attack those things.
At least you know where it's coming from. Oh, Strike
But
Fighters
you
too.
know where it's coming from anyway, because you can visually see the projectile from their attacks.
Hey, calm down, calm down. We're just having a discussion here.
The point is, I think they're D at the highest.
D at the highest. They feel like Artanis to me, except they don't tank as well. They do damage okay. They have splash. They have vision, a little bit granted by the airstrikes.
Strike fighters are really good here. You can snipe a lot of things before they even get close.
You don't have to tie.
And then while you're strike fightering, you can drop mag mines. You can look at them, drop some mag mines, and kill some stuff.
I feel like a lot of commanders can do a lot of work with top bar on this map in general, though.
The point is that by the time they get to you, you're gonna lose stuff, but you probably won't like lose your whole army every time you fight.
Plus, your whole army doesn't have to be in the form of Reapers. You have 20 supply in airstrikes. You have like 30 supply. Was it in the carrier galleons?
So it's 10 supply.
10, something like that. 10 supply plus Ravens plus.
I think it's 10. It might be 15. It's not 6 supply per galleon. I'm pretty sure it's
2 or 3
3.
each.
I think it's 3, not 2.
So it's 15. You add 20. That's 35 supply. You don't restart at 0. You have like 40 supply of horror units and airstrikes.
You have 40. You have 40 supply, except the airstrikes are like already used, so they're not exactly helping. And the carrier galleons are it's 5 carrier galleons. That is not a critical mass.
The role of the airstrike is to knock out the splash damage so that your main army, your Mirahan army, can fight better. And I don't necessarily endorse a full Reaper army. I still feel like a healthy mix of the Hellions that slow down enemies, the Hellbutts that make them run around in fear. I think it was fear, and the Reapers, of course, that deal damage when they get shot or when they die. I think still a healthy mix would be optimal here.
Damage. I don't know. I think that Han and Horner are actually like considerably worse than anyone else here, and like really, 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 really bad.
Have you played Han and Horner here?
I don't think I bothered to do Han and Horner on this mutation yet, but I mean, this is an easy mutation. So like the only argument for putting Han and Horner in C is that to claim that the mutation is easy enough that nobody belongs in D.
I think that fits well enough.
I honestly I actually wouldn't put anyone else in the same tier of Han and Horner because I honestly think they're that much worse than everyone else.
But you haven't played them in this mutation.
Fair.
I have played Artanis in the Fate of the Dark. I have played Han and Horner in Fate of the Dark. I would rather have Han and Horner personally.
Han and Horner are much more prone to losing because of a mistake.
I'd still rather have Han and Horner because
they have an extremely fragile
the damage output.
army.
The damage output is there.
Yeah, the damage output is there for a lot of commanders. They have an extremely fragile army. They can't very quickly replace it, even if they get their partial refund. And that partial refund just kind of makes up for how criminally expensive they are per power level anyways. Reapers are so much worse than Marines. The per mineral power level is like definitely in favor of the Marine. They have their strike fighters, yeah, but like a lot of people have top bar, which can do a lot of things here. Just look at Karax.
I'm not trying to say that they're B or something. I'm just saying that they're not bad enough to be D.
I'm not convinced, but you can outvote me to put them in C, I guess.
What do you think, Tutu? Are you convinced to put them in D?
No, I don't want them in D. They were one of like few commanders where I actually got both bonuses. There's that much time. They killed the trains fast enough so that I can get the bonus trains and come back.
As I was saying, the damage output is there. That's why I don't think they deserve to be D. I think C is enough. It's not better than anyone. They can still be dead last, but I don't think they're a tier below the worst. So I think we'll still have him in C.
Yeah.
Karax, where do you have him?
As I literally just mentioned.
Yeah.
Top bar. He have top bar. Basically, you just have to like see
his army is in space.
His army is in space. The awkward problem with that is the fact that Shortsighted still does create problems for actually casting the top bar.
Certainly does.
So, I would say you probably want to, whether you use P2 or P3, you probably want to use Zealots, honestly. And the reason you would use Zealots is so that you can get vision of the short-sighted, you stare down at Amon's stuff, and use your staring to get rid of Afraid of the Dark,
Staring.
and your Zealots to get rid of short-sighted, and with that, you can actually fire your solar lances and orbital strikes and everything, and then you just vaporize everything.
How about P1?
I wouldn't recommend it against short-sighted, but you could.
All right. So letter.
I don't think it's as strong as the other prestiges by a significant margin personally. I think he's A, but he's not like a super solid A.
All right, that's acceptable. Tutu, how about you?
I think P2 carriers is good here, and because he has repair beam, the damage you take from like the stuff that you can't see gets repaired, and
Yeah.
so you don't really lose stuff. And your zealots, like, you don't care if they die anyways, and you can probably use a solar lance while you're fighting to deal like the fire damage for
Mhm.
extra pain. So I put him in A.
All right.
Solid choice.
All right, I also had him in A. Unanimous. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
So Kerrigan does a lot of stuff. Just fights herself. Like she'll carry the early game,
herself.
and later on you save all that money. You make an army of whatever. I made Mutalist Brutalord because I like them, and I think air units are nice here.
I like them.
But you can choose whatever. You can make Hydra, Lurker,
You can
Ultra if you want.
you can
Plus
add
the
Zerglings, right?
for
Yeah, with the shredded claws.
yeah, of course I make Zerglings because I have lots of minerals.
Yeah.
P2 or P3, both fine. I put her in A.
All right. How about you, Stickspender?
Yeah. I would say P2. I would think has a distinct advantage because of the fact that the lightning kazaps, whenever you
Zaps.
cast the spell, will hit enemies that are not in your vision. So that means that you don't even have to worry nearly as much about looking at the enemies in order to kill them. You can kill the enemies without seeing them. You just look at Kerrigan and spam her spells, and everything dies off in the darkness, and you don't even have to worry about it.
You just spam the spells. It'll work splendidly. Letter.
A?
All right, I agree.
I'd say A.
Yeah, great.
Also, remember by the way, you can use Zerglings as mineral dump, or you can use spine crawlers as mineral dump.
That works too.
That is up to you. The reason I would bring that up is because the Zerglings might have problems with the fact that they have to go to where your vision is.
Oh,
and
yes.
then they get slaughtered by
That'll be annoying.
literally anything that sneezes in their vague general direction. Whereas spine crawlers create their own tiny little pocket of vision as they hug the tracks.
Yes, that's true. That is a point for spine crawlers. Let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
Let's move on. Nova. I did do this one of Nova. I do remember doing that at one point.
Did you liberate some trains?
Yes, you liberate trains. So it's kind of funny. Liberators. Oh no, they could only shoot where I'm looking at with my camera. Thankfully, they could already only shoot in a little bald area anyways, so I guess nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Yeah.
Good news, everyone. It's the same thing as before.
You really tunnel vision on that little circle. Or big circle.
Yep.
And airstrike also. Yeah, airstrike can still work. Ravens still work.
Yeah, Ravens. Yeah, so basically, you have to be a little careful because you will take a lot more damage than you're used to because of Shortsighted and Afraid of the Dark, both making it so that you're already kind of, I think the best word is brittle.
The good
Liberators.
news is defensive drone exists.
Yes, basically defensive drone exists, and that will be a big part of your plan. You will be spamming the defensive drone, in fact.
Okay, so letter.
I think that she's a B, but a high B.
Interesting. How about you,
Tutu?
Actually, you play normally. She normally liberates trains, and the trains just disappear. So I'm not sure what's different. I mean, you can't see as far, but like your Griffin airstrike doesn't care. Sabotage drone doesn't care, and you throw down Raven turrets.
Nukes
So
certainly don't care.
yeah, you throw down Raven turrets to take damage, to tank, or like
Give
you
visions.
throw
These
them
are
down and like, all
buildings.
the melee units, the zealots will go to the turrets, and then your liberator circles are right there, and then they die. And she has great mobility. Yeah, I put her in A because it's just normal. It's just normal Oblivion Express.
Here we go again. What do you think about that, Stixbender?
It's normal Oblivion Express, but you take quite a lot more damage, and I think it's actually a relevant amount more damage. And like,
Defense drone.
yeah, you use defense drone. You run out of defense drone if you are like microing sloppy. That's my point.
Do you?
Yeah, you can definitely run out of defense drone charges. Literally, you can run out of charges. This is a thing that can pretty easily happen, I think.
How many
Uh,
do you use per fight?
Often two, because one is for this mutation, because one isn't enough to be able to easily beat things without like being careful about where you're positioning your liberators. I do remember, I think I fought like Terran Mech or something, so they did actually have good anti-air. I like actually allowed the enemy comp to be something that can shoot up. I
Well,
didn't choose an enemy comp that can't shoot up for soloing this, which I know is a bit of a standard norm for soloing, is to choose a comp that doesn't know what up is. But
well, you still say it's a fair assessment then.
I think that I think that well, I think that if Nova is comp dependent when the people in A really aren't, then that's a reason for her to be down. Like Abathur is really strong already too. Like, and he's down in B.
That's a fair point.
Like, if we're just putting everyone in A, including even Nova, then I feel like Abathur would also need to be in A. Like,
That's
at
actually a
that
good
point,
point.
it's just
The
at that
reason
point, it's just not a tier list; it's an A list.
an A
Everyone's
list.
in A.
Hey, there we go. Actually,
Except Han and Horner.
they're
bad.
The only
That's
reason I
bad.
don't have Abathur in A is because of the early game. Might be more difficult, especially with Afraid of Dark. Might be discombobulating to where you wanna lure the enemies from. Also, you have this strategy where you put down an extra toxic nest in the middle of the enemies to aggro them to the thing, giving you vision of the area, which is normally the spine crawler, or the spore crawler, which makes it more difficult to see where you're luring from. That's why I think Abathur is B, but
And all this makes me feel like bringing up again how it's like you definitely can do Abathur without luring, if you don't want to, be like
Good.
MLG Pro Abathur showing off your mad skills.
Oh, I'm gonna move Nova to B, because Shortsighted plus Scourge or Vipers.
oh yes, that's true. All right,
Like
so
that like ruins things.
okay, so
even the fleet of the Matriarch, the Corsairs.
the
my
Corsairs.
goodness,
Oh,
that
that's
would be a pain.
painful. That's painful.
So yes, that makes sense. Whereas like Phoenix, you lose stuff, but you
Replace
make
it quickly.
more.
Yeah. All right. So both of you
Okay.
guys had I actually had her in A. This might be noticeable, but both of you had B. So let's have her in B. Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor, see, he's good against Afraid of the Dark, but you don't want to spend you don't want to spend too much money scanning, otherwise you're gonna like not build stuff. I'm not sure where to put him. It's like because he has scan, short-sighted and Afraid of the Dark are negated, but he's still Raynor. So the
Poor Raynor.
enemies moving faster, that doesn't matter too much, but the scan lasts like 15 seconds. So if the battle lasts longer, you're gonna have to scan again, and that's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Another good thing is that you can scan a different area while you're fighting in one area.
That's true. You can scan for your ally.
Yes, if they're like you see their armies being hit, but you see their armies being hit, but like they're not looking for some reason, and to look at their base, and then you want to save them. I
Oh,
guess you can
yes.
scan for them.
You can definitely scan.
Uh,
Or you can even spread your orbitals around for vision.
Yes.
The building vision of the orbitals.
that helps too.
That helps too.
Since the enemies aren't stronger, they're just faster. I think B or A.
Ooh, A or B. How about you, Sixpender?
I think he's not quite A. You can look at how there's all these strong people in A. I don't think Jimmy's A, but I would definitely say he can be B. I think that basically the money drain of scanning is a significant investment, and you have to be aware of that.
Yes. How about using the first
But-
prestige? Because in the first prestige, the orbitals are strictly for scanning, not muling.
Then you can't replace your army if it dies, so that's, I would consider, a much weaker plan.
Okay. But
I
you
need
have
extra orbitals for scanning, just for scanning
yeah.
with P1.
But you have
I think you'll need extra orbitals either way, and the mules mean that you can, well, one, you can have a bigger budget for building orbitals, and two, it means that you can remake your marines that die because of just the like. You basically, with P1 Raynor, what you're doing is you are trading damage output for early hit points, and only early hit points, because in the long run, just having more marines will net you more hit points. But early hit points in exchange for your long-term damage and very long-term marine hit points. Actually, your all-term damage. You just do less damage all game long, pretty much, if you are using P1 Raynor, because you have fewer marines. Raynor isn't really hurting for damage. Like, he melts the train faster than almost any other commander. Like, he can definitely, like, technically speaking, if you are using the Hyperion on a train along with your army, which I often don't do anymore because I'm so used to using the Hyperion to solo attack waves. But if you have your Hyperion with your army, then your Marines, I'm pretty sure, literally kill trains faster than Reapers with the Hellion attack speed buff and the Raven laser pointer. Like, your Marines kill trains so fast. They are very much DPS engines. So I don't think you're hurting for damage, but I think that P0 will definitely give you much more room to actually, remake any Marines that die horrible deaths. So,
all right. So B.
I think that B works.
All right. We're fine. We're all fine with B. So, Stat Boy, where do I have him?
His Zerglings are very, very tanky. Gary gets to do the whole firing spells into the void and hearing a whole bunch of death sound effects play. As long as you have P2, Gary's orbs should just literally solo everything. If you don't have P2, I actually think that will make a significant detriment to your effectiveness as a Statman, in this case, more than normal. Because you're more dependent on Gary's damage, because against Afraid of the Dark, fragile, quote unquote, melee units suffer greatly against Afraid of the Dark, and even though you're not most of the time fragile with your units, you're kind of fragile here because of the just the existence of. Wait, no, it's not this mutation specific, sorry. Because even though your Zerglings are in general not fragile, they can be rendered fragile by an enemy comp. And that can become a problem if you don't have a Gary who is just a complete engine of destruction. And so basically, I'm saying that he's going to be considerably worse without P2, but I'm not 100% certain he's a tier worse. And either way, he's A if you are P2, so he is A. I'm just noting how big of a power loss it is to not have P2 here.
All right. How about you, Tutu?
I actually did this a long time ago. I used P1 because if you put the satellites along the track, you will have vision of the train. And it provides a lot of vision. Like,
To radius.
because
Oh,
you
what
don't need
radius?
that many Stellalites across the map, so you're just gonna have all your extra Stellalites be like little lamps along the track.
Nice.
So that was really, really good. It was really, really helpful for fighting. I don't think that's necessary. This was back when I first started playing Stetmann. I liked playing P1 a lot, so I did a lot of P1 solos before switching over to Best Buddy. But yeah, P1 was not bad here. Um, I thought that like you just play even with if you're using P2, you're playing normally, so there's nothing that different. You can make lurkers and use the focus strike algorithm if you want, but if you don't, I don't think that matters.
Probably not.
Yeah, and you're just gonna e-gorb everything as usual, and then let the Zerglings clean up, and then your Stellalites, even if it's P2, you can put them along the track, and then after you kill all the enemies, they're not gonna get hit. So your lings will still, like the hybrid will most likely hit your Zerglings, so they won't hit the Stellalites, and then you can kill them. You can like get them back and then finish off the train.
Okay.
So I thought he would be like low S.
Low S? Really?
Like more maybe because Manx is like double S like last time.
Oh, you
But-
think Arcturus is double S?
Well,
I mean,
last time
kind
he
of,
was
yeah.
he was like double S because of Oblivion Express, and
Yeah.
basically like this. I don't know if he's double S this time, but like he's still
Yes.
at least at the top.
This time is even worse than last time for how much he hard counters it. He literally doesn't
literally
even
doesn't.
acknowledge the mutators on top of this being just such a one-sided map for Mengsk.
So
It's an extremely one-sided map for Mengsk, and he ignores all the mutators.
All right.
It's just ridiculous.
we'll talk about that later. But do we put Stetboy in S? What do you think, Stickspender?
I don't think so. I don't think that he is the top person I would nominate for putting an SI side from Mengsk anyways.
Yeah. Tutu, do you have an argument to convince Stickspender?
I also would point out it's a little silly to me how it's like, yes, you can use P1 Stellalite to get vision of the track. It's like, but they still give vision when they're disabled, so any prestige could do that. But anyways,
Yes, that's true. Any prestige can do that. But yeah, Tutu, are you gonna make a further argument to put Stetboy in S?
Not really. I mean, he is definitely better than the current 5 A's.
Okay, but yeah, if it's not unanimous, it's not S. So we're gonna have Stetboy in A. I wouldn't put Stetboy in S either for this week because Arcturus exists. Stukov, where do we have him?
If you're using P3, it's similar to the Artanis problem where you have a lot of stuff, but they can't all hit because
They can't all
what you
hit.
see is limited. So I think P1 Diamondback tank is better because tanks have a lot of range.
18 range.
So even if they're like they're on top of the cliff, when you look down to control your Diamondbacks, they're gonna shoot at the trains. So they're gonna shoot at the stuff that you're heading towards with your Diamondback. And the slime is nice against the train, extra damage. But Diamondbacks kind of get hit by they take a while to recover HP unless you repair them, and the hybrid like to mess with them. You
Yes.
can use queens, I guess, but that doesn't stop Afraid of the Dark, right? It stops Shortsighted, but not Afraid of the Dark. I didn't use queens, but yeah, I guess I could have, but I didn't use them. I put Stukov in B.
Really? Does that factor in how the Alexander steals vision?
That's like not every wave though.
True, but it's still
And
nice.
if you take stuff and it dies, that thing you take dies, then you lose the vision.
Just take another thing. Anyway, how about you, Stickspender?
So Stukov's, if you're using P3, you are going to unfortunately have to either way get tanks, because P3 by itself is like barely enough DPS for trains, and I highly recommend personally just playing it safe and getting the tanks.
Thank you for that valuable insight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it every time.
Yeah, that sentence happened. So, yeah, the basic difference between P1 and P3 at that point becomes P1 is going to be just all the tanks and then like enough Diamondbacks to drag air units down or something, but like you generally don't want to have Diamondbacks because they're going to get shot and they are going to have to worry about, dying being a thing that can happen.
Yes.
Honestly, if you are against an air comp, I'd probably recommend getting like 10 Liberators over getting any amount of Diamondbacks.
Okay.
And then if you're using P3, it's just instead of pure tank, it's marine tank. It's still tank, but this time you have a big buffer of Marines in front, which are just going to die of timed life anyway. So it doesn't like they're just there to be a meat shield for the tanks and hold. They're just there to hold Amon in place and tell them to stand still and die to your.
What is my purpose? You're gonna die.
You're gonna go die so that my tanks can blow everything up.
So where do you have him?
I thought he could be. I kind of thought he could be A, but maybe he's only B.
Yeah, I think he's only B as well.
Probably only B. He's only B. It's fine. He's B.
Not
he
bad.
Makes it.
Okay, Swann, where do we have him?
Floating factories do give a little pinpoint of vision, so there is vision to speak of here for your floating factory armada if you like doing that. So you can levitate factories in, get vision for the laser jolt. They're very tanky and they have repair, and you'll end up getting vision for your ally too. So basically, you get a little bit of support in that form. Aside from that, you're probably just going to make either a ball of Goliaths or a ball of Wraiths, and you're just going to kind of...
Do you even need factories when you're going to look at stuff? You're going to look at the spot where you want the laser to shoot anyway, or unless you'd be spending a lot of time at home building stuff.
Yeah, I think that. The reasoning for that would be so that like as the train is coming out, you just have the factories floating where the train is coming out, so that you get a bunch of free damage before even actually starting the real fight against the train escort, because they just walk up and get lasered while the train is still spawning. Would be quite useful, I think. But I guess if you're using top bar based Swann, then that's definitely not really worth your time. So fair enough.
All right, letter.
Probably B.
One!
I think I'm being overcomplicated on the execution, but ultimately it's like, yeah, he's decent.
How about you, Tutu?
Decent.
Since he has static defense, he has like easy ghost killers. Like if there are any ghosts nearby, you just have. Yeah, you can put a few blaster abilities along the track for extra damage and just mass wraith. I think mass wraith is the way. P0 mass wraith. So you have concentrated beam / pulse cannon for the escorts, and then like if you're out of position or like if you need to stall a little, the attack waves will run into your static defense. So, and static defense provides a bit of vision. So especially if there's some melee, then you'll be fine. And if you're not, like maybe you lose a flaming Betty or two, and then your wraiths will get back and finish them off. Unless they're immortals, that's another story. But yeah, I thought I put them in A because I thought it's really straightforward and strong, because your call downs are going to clear almost all the escorts for every train.
I don't know. How do you feel about that 6-mitter?
3 minute call down, 3 minutes per train. So
How do you feel about that, Stickbender?
Yeah.
You think A?
It seems like a bit of a stretch, but I'm like trying to like
Bottom of
remind
A?
myself, right. I'm trying to remind myself, like, right, his top bar. How do you use that again? I haven't played traditional Swann in so long. I'm like forgetting how he works.
There's a concentrated beam, which takes out, well, 600 damage of things in its
Yeah,
path.
that. And the thing is, it's kind of like it almost ends up being dependent on which base your laser drill decides to spawn in. But the trains, the laser drill is the trains are a line. The concentrated beam is a line.
Yeah.
It is good.
So, you think A?
A bit of a stretch to put him in A, but I think he can make it to A. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Before we move on, I'm a bit disappointed that Tutu had the chance to call them Ghostbusters, or even Ghost Fighters, but he chose to say Ghost Killers, which is possibly the lamest choice you could have done. You could have gone with there, but it's fine. Swann A. Let's move on. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus. Lone Wolf is definitely not a good choice
Yes,
because you can't.
you can't. You
They
can't have the same vision for all of them.
Yeah. I used P3, which is nice because the Odin can like tank the enemies while the outlaws kill the train or something. I think he's still Tychus, so he's still strong, but I don't know, like train damage. I put him in B
B.
because I think his train damage is not as good, thanks as a result of like the vision being his vision being nerfed from Shortsighted plus Afraid of the Dark.
Can't you get like serious turret help with that or something?
That helps a little, but it's like doesn't make up for like you have to look at one spot and then you'll have to like hit all that stuff.
Okay, how about you, Stickspender?
Yeah, Tychus' train DPS is always weak, and that's like one of the big things that makes him like actually kind of bad at this map as like just a map.
Yikes.
So I feel like anything getting in the way of his DPS basically just leaves him like, if your ally's shooting the train at all, it'll be fine. It's just that you are technically dependent on your ally to like,
Oh,
go
yes.
sneeze on the train, please. I killed everything else. Please go
Fight the
shoot a
train.
train.
All right, fair enough. So we're gonna have it in B.
Yeah.
Bicus. Zagara, where do we have him?
So Zagara has she doesn't care about Shortsighted. She runs into the train anyways. So she's just doing what she normally would have done anyways. And then you have bio launchers, which add extra
There it is.
damage to the trains when they're not looking. You just set and forget, so you don't have to really control them. You just have them aim at different parts of the track, so they'll hit whatever enemies are near there. And yeah, I put her in S.
S? That's higher than I expected.
You have extra hatches, so you have vision at every ramp. You have creep spread. Well, you don't need to build a queen.
Yeah, I was
but
asking.
You're gonna,
Do you put creep tumors at the tracks? Because I feel like your Zerglings might run out of vision to hit the train.
I kill all the enemies so fast that I can just hit the train. I just look at the train and kill them. Like I'm following the train. I did not
Wow.
put creep tumors along the track.
Interesting.
I could have, but I did not because it wasn't necessary. And I have
Interesting.
bio launchers, which deal extra damage.
All right. All right. How about you, Stickspender?
P1, by the way.
Wow.
Wow, P1. Yeah, I would be inclined to say that Zagara is like, if there's anyone else who can get S, I actually do agree that I could be Zagara. I didn't actually
I didn't see that coming, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, if both of you agree with S, we'll have her in S. I initially had her in
She's bad Mengsk. But the thing is, Mengsk is like S times 100 here.
Okay.
So being bad Mengsk is still S.
All right.
Like,
that
despite being
I think
considerably weaker Mengsk.
I think we might break up the double S here. Zeratul,
Yeah,
where do we
yeah,
have him?
It's not close between the two of them, but she's still better than everyone else.
Zeratul.
Zeratul. Cannons give a tiny pocket of vision, but realistically, you have to keep looking for your cannons. Dark Templar delete trains comically fast, so you have that for incredibly good train DPS. I highly recommend actually getting this Dark Templar. They're melee anyways, and unlike they're actually melee, unlike Vorzin's Dark Templar, which are actually a fragile range spellcaster. Zeratul's Dark Templar are a melee murdering machine with like Ultralisk hit points and
Okay.
revive on death.
So Torasks.
Yeah. Zeratul's Dark Templar are Tarasks. Vorzin's Dark Templar are funky spellcasters. That's the difference.
Okay.
And that means that against Shortsighted and Afraid of the Dark, Zeratul's Dark Templar do a lot better. I personally would probably just not even use cannons. I would just use like Zeratul plus Dark Templar, and if it's an air comp, get some Immortals.
All right.
But either way, A, like really good A.
All right. How about you, Tutu?
Same thing, I guess. It's more or less, yeah. He's really strong. I think like if there are enemy Terrans, you'll still have like monoliths at each ramp.
Okay.
So you have, even if you don't make any cannons, you'll still have stuff
Defense.
to shoot.
Yeah.
I would make a few cannons just in case there are ghosts. If there are no ghosts, then it doesn't matter. You can trap the artifact, so you get your Void Templar will get super strong later on.
Yes.
So yeah, A, S, A.
All right.
A.
Not unanimous S, so just A. All right. So first question: do we break out the double S for Arcturus this week?
If you do that, will there be another S next to Zagara?
I don't think an S next to Zagara is a requirement for Arcturus to be in double S. I do believe the Arcturus is double S, as long as anyone else is in S, or as long as anyone is in S, other than Arcturus. So, do we break out the double S here?
Yes, he's so much better than Zagara, and yet Zagara is still S because really Zagara is good, but Mengsk is just, it's not close.
All right, Arcturus is in double S, and Zagara is an S. So were we talking about promoting someone else to S? Is there anyone else?
Maybe I would say maybe Zeratul or Alarak, and that's about all I would nominate for potential promotions.
Okay, Zeratul or Alarak. How about you, Tutu?
Zeratul, Stetmann.
Zeratul, Stetmann. Okay, so the only unanimous one is Zeratul. So do we promote Zeratul?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Zeratul is in fact that good.
So Alarak and Stetboy were both candidates for S. Do we put them both on the top of A?
Yeah.
All right. So Zagara is top of S because she got into S before reconsideration, right?
Yeah, well, obviously.
All right. So who's the third best in A?
Third best.
Dehaka.
Dehaka seems right, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. I agree.
And then Fenix, and then Kerrigan, and then Karax, and Swann. So it's almost right to swap Karax and Kerrigan. That's what I'd say. Tutu, you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of thought they were.
Tutu and I just want to go to sleep, man.
Well, yeah, that too.
B. Who's the best among the B? Nova? I think Nova.
Abathur.
Abathur?
Abathur's good.
What do you think?
I think
Tutu?
Nova after Abathur.
Nova after Abathur?
And then I would put Tychus.
What do you think?
Obviously,
Tutu?
Tychus is above Jimmy and probably Stukov.
Yeah.
Okay, so Abathur, then Nova, then Tychus, then Stukov, then Raynor? Or switch around
Okay.
Raynor and Stukov?
Stukov is better.
Stukov is
I
better?
think.
Okay. So for C, who's better? Vorzun or either of Artanis and Han and Horner? It's like this.
Artanis, then Vorzun, then Han and Horner, but you know.
Like this?
I mean,
Okay.
I was arguing for Han and Horner D, and I stand by that.
Alright. Do you agree to two?
Yeah, looks good. Yeah, looks alright.
Alright. So that is the tier list for this week. Oh, wait. Is there any synergies between B or C that would make them good? I think Raynor plus anyone. Because all they
Raynor
need is
plus
vision.
anyone.
Raynor plus anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Raynor does nothing but scan, still helps a lot.
And it still helps a lot, yeah. So here's your synergy, guys. Raynor plus anyone, we'll put them over. But I'd still rather have Arcturus than any
Yes,
combination of B and
obviously.
C.
If you must pick, then it's Raynor Vorazun, right?
Yeah, yeah, Raynor
That-
Vorzun
That fits.
or Raynor
Or
Nova?
Artanis. Raynor Artanis.
Raynor Artanis, the buddies.
Yes, 400 shields on your Marines. Who needs P1 to just give your Marines a mere extra 60 health when you can give them an extra 380 health
sounds
without
about
losing mules?
sounds fair.
Plus Guardian.
Garden Shell
Each one gets extra life.
sounds good. All right, so there's
Make
your tier
Marines
list.
incapable of dying without even losing mules. Artanis plus Raynor today.
Oh yeah. There it is, guys. Watch 2, 2, and 6 Benders channels. I will link them down below, and I'll see you guys next time.